This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, so let's start today's session. Yeah, before going to today's session, any doubts on the previous sessions?
No, I'm fine. Then.
Okay. Rohit, what about you? Where you cope up with the videos and any questions on that? Okay, looks like Rohit is on mute. Okay, and also we have a WhatsApp group created now. So if you have any queries anytime, you can post on that WhatsApp group so that I'll just check on your queries and answer in the same group.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so yesterday we saw all the transformations under the Om ribbon. What are the queries we had, like merge, append, split column, group by, then data type options, which we have. So all the options were whatever was there under the Om ribbon, we finished. We almost covered everything. Okay, so the next is like a transform ribbon. So let's go to the transform ribbon and see what are the options do we have and how does it like how or what for what it will be used and how does it perform. So in transform ribbon, again, as I said, from Om ribbon, whatever you have seen, right? Most of them will be repeated in transform and also and the add column. Okay, whatever you have seen in the Om ribbon, the same thing will be similar concepts will be seen in the transform ribbon, and whatever you have seen in the transform ribbon will be similar concept even in the add column. Okay, so let's start with the transform ribbon. So going to transform ribbon.
Just sorry to interrupt. Just one thing. So the manage parameter things we will see later. That part.
Yes, yes. Manage parameters will have we have a concept there. So let's come back to the manage parameter.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So in transform, let's start with the transform today. And in transform, first one is group by. Group by we already saw with an example, right? We group by group like grouping the data, aggregated data with one column or more than one column. So we saw this different kind of operations what we can perform. Okay, so group by is the same group by which we have in a repeated form in the transform ribbon also. Okay, and next we have is use first row as it is. This example has also been like demonstrated. So we demonstrated using an Excel file where we would be having a situation to promote the first row as headers, and also like use the headers as the first row also. Okay, so this situation we saw in the last class in the under the home ribbon when we were performing using an Excel data example. Okay, so a similar function which we have in the use first row as headers. Okay, next we have is transpose, then reverse rows and count rows. Okay, so let's see how does it work. So under the transpose, what is transpose? Okay, like any rough idea what could be transpose?
Yes, transpose means mm, uh, we usually do like the pivoting concept from row to column, yes, from column to row.
Yeah. So transpose is like is nothing but we are converting rows to columns and also from columns to rows. Okay, if you have the data with rows, then the row data will be converted into columns, and if you select the columns and convert into transpose, the column data will be converted into rows. Okay, so let's take an example and see. Let me consider customer key and first name and yearly income. Okay, and let me remove the others. Okay, so now we have three options, three columns: customer key, first name and yearly income. So now what I want to do, I'll select customer key and I'll just click on transpose. Okay, so what happened? Any idea now what happened? I just clicked on customer key and I clicked on transpose. What happened now?
So all so let me join. Can
Okay, let me do it again.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, just a moment. Column key.
We have column key and I'm clicking on transpose of column key. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah,
So customers, all the customers, like John, Ruben, Eugene, so all became like
all the
uh,
rows, each row, for
individual.
example, just let me just see my before data. Okay, let me take in a snipping of it and show you to compare.
I don't know. It's
Okay,
Excel functionality,
sorry, Suresh.
It's Excel functionality, rows to columns, columns to rows. You can convert it using
Yes,
that formula.
yes, the same function, the same function. Okay, so this is my call. This is my previous data. Now I'll apply the transpose. So once my transpose has applied, you can see my data, my row data which was there is completely converted into column. So my customer key was 111000 and John and 90,000 was my yearly income. See that complete row, my entire first row is converted into column. Second one, 11001, you gain and 60K. Okay, same thing has been converted into column. Okay, so this is the transpose function similar to Excel function, rows to columns and columns to rows. Okay, so this is about the transpose function. Next we have is reverse rows. Okay, What is reverse rows? Reverse rows is nothing but if you highlight on it, it will invert the table. It will I mean the first row will go to the last, or the last row will come to the first. So now just observe, like I have the customer key. I'm just taking the customer key and I'm clicking on the reverse rows. Okay, so what will happen? It's like the complete rows got reversed. Okay, the entire rows got reversed. So the double one on the 000 which we had as a first row, it went to the last, and the last one came to the first one. So now if I apply the reverse back again, so it got reversed it again, and I got the original table again. Okay, so this is a reverse rows. It's not just one column, it will apply to the entire set. My subordinate data columns also will be getting reversed according to the functions which we apply. Okay,
Is it
so
similar
that
to like ascending and descending?
ascending and descending. No, ascending and descending, we had one
Oh,
difference.
okay. Yeah, that goes by values, and
Correct.
it will just entire table it will reverse irrespective
Correct.
of value.
Respective columns. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is reverse rows. So next we have is count rows. Count rows is nothing but it will give the overall count. For example, now we have 10 rows, right? So if I suppose if there is more than 10 rows, suppose if we don't know, let me take this kept key first row. Okay, so I have here 199 plus rows. Okay, and I'm more than rows also I'll be having. So if I wanted to know what is the total count rows, okay, I can just click on count rows. Once I click on count rows, right, I'll get an aggregated count. So you can see this is my rows. The total number of rows, how much I have for this table is 18,484. Okay, suppose if you wanted to know what exactly the count is, if someone asks, so how, where this function you will be using it is like it, you are still in a testing phase, or you're still in a developing phase, and you'll be imported the data from the data sources like SQL server or the Oracle server. You'll be importing the data into the Power BI, and you see that one of the table is having a problem, or you'll be doing still the validation to check whether you have loaded, you'll be matching from the source data and destination data. What is your source data? Your source data would be either a SQL server which will be connecting SQL server database, or Oracle database, or a different database, or Excel, could be Excel also. Okay, that is your source data. So there, if you wanted to see whether all the records are loaded properly into a Power BI, okay, so you will check the count there. So the count may be there, it will be showing 20k plus or 30k plus. So how do you check in Power Query whether all the rows have been loaded? Here, if you if this function is not applied, right, what it will show here? It will just show 999. It will always shows only 1,000 records, right? In the first, it will not show the more than 1,000 records here. You can see here it shows this 999 plus rows. That's all. And you can see column profile is based on the top 1,000 rows. It will show always the top 1,000 rows. It will not show you more than that. So at that time, if you wanted to know, for example, whether my all the tables or all the columns has been I mean all the proper count has been loaded, so you can apply this formula. I mean you can apply this function from the transform column. You can apply this count rows, and you can see whether the same count has been loaded into your Power BI file. Okay, so that is about the count rows function.
This counter does it include the empty rows or it doesn't?
It will. So okay, let's take an example. We had a table, right? Okay, let's create one table. Okay, So we have, according to how many rows we have now? 5 rows, right? So let's click on transform and do the count rows. Okay. It will consider.
Okay.
It will consider the null values also. Okay. So it is 5. Okay. And let's go to the other functions. So before this, Suresh, I was just telling before joining you the session, like WhatsApp group has been created. So if you have any queries then and there, you can post it on the WhatsApp and we will be able to answer you the questions.
Okay, okay, okay. I seen yesterday they added it in WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And do you have any questions, Suresh, of your previous this one, if you wanted to go through that?
No, I'm just going through that. If I have, then I'll let you know.
Okay, sure. Okay, so we finished count rows. Next we have is let me go to the back to the customer. Okay, and yeah, let me just keep the okay. So the next function of under the transpose we have is data type. Data type, which we already saw under the home menu, like where we will be changing into whole number, decimal number, fixed decimal number, data type. So same thing has been even here also. So data type is, you can, as I said, you can go and check in 2 ways. Either you can go and click on the this icon. The next to the column name, you'll have this small icons, right? Here we have 1, 2, 3, and you have your ABC, and here you have a dollar symbol. So just go click on there, right click. So you will have the data type. You can just change it, or you can just click on the column name, okay, and also click on change type and change the data type according to it. So if you don't want to do it in this way, just select the column which you wanted and select the data type, and it will show you which data type is currently and which data type you wanted to convert it. Okay, so this is all about data type, and data type is quite important concept. As I said, like yesterday's class also, we have to know like the data types, because most of the errors which we face in real time is a data type conversion. Okay, and also be make sure that data type conversion is not just in Power BI. I'm telling, when you are importing data from the source like SQL Server database or any of the databases, right? The sometimes the whatever I mean at the back end, when the data is been when the data has been converted, or sometimes Power BI will not detect the data type properly, and sometimes at the back end itself they would have not they would have just kept varchar means where even the character also will be there, and also even the numbers also, it is like alphanumeric. So at that time sometimes, right, when according to the data, when we are converting or when we are writing the formulas like DAX functions, so it will ask for the specific data type. So at that time it will be a problem. So we should make sure that the data type is proper when we get the data, and check from the source end to so do the validation from the source end also. So that is about the data type. And detect data type. Detect data type is, suppose if you do not know what is the data type. Okay, for example, let me take this table itself. Okay, here I'll give A1 to E Q. Okay, and let it be in this way. Okay, and give OK. Now what I have is, I have source. Okay, I have source, and I don't have and then we don't know what is the data type actually it is, whether it is 1 or A1 or 3. We have a numeric also, we have this one also, so we don't know what is the data type. Suppose we doesn't know what kind of data it is and what data type should be applied or should be selected. So at that time we can just click on detect data type. So what it will do, it will go and check, and it will say now, as of now we have alphanumeric, so that is why it is keeping the data type as text. Suppose if I have one more column here. Okay, let me add one more column. Let me just keep numbers and give OK. Okay, now let me just click on detect data type. Okay, so this is my source. Now if I click on detect data type, okay, so you can see it completely got into change. It detected the data. It meant that it is a number, so it completely changed into numbers. Okay, so if we suppose if it doesn't know what kind of data or what kind of data type should be applied, so you can click on data type. Okay, and also one thing I'll say, that is in real time concepts, when you onboard on project, right, you will not use most of these functions in your project. Okay, and what you use is group by you use. Okay, data type you use, and yeah, data type you use, and also the replace values which we already saw, you will be using it, and split column you will be using it. Other than that, what you're seeing like the static function, stand function, count rows will not be used. Transpose and reverse, that will come under pivot column, that you'll be using based on the requirement. Not, I'll not say that you'll be using it every time when you are working on the project. It will depends, it depends on the nature of requirement you get and the business requirement. Based on the requirement, you will be performing the transpose rows and pivot column, unpivot column. Okay, but other than that, what you're seeing, this trigonometry functions, rounding, and this extract values, all this ribbon under this transform ribbon, right, you will not be using much. Okay, and there is no much use cases in the real time scenario, because most of these will be handled at the source end itself. So we will not be doing or performing this kind of operations when you onboarded into real time projects for under the transform menu. Okay, so this is about the detect data type. And next is rename. Suppose, what is rename? Rename is same like if you wanted to rename the column, the present column is there and you wanted to rename that column. So we have this column 1 now. I'll just click on rename, so I can rename into number or value. Okay, I can rename it into this way. So there are two ways to rename. Again, either you can select the particular column and go click on rename, or what you can do is just double click on the column header. Just highlight on the column header and double click, so you'll get an option. So I will be renaming it this to text value or something. Okay, text value or something. This is about the rename options. Rename for the column. Clear? Okay,
Yes.
next we have is replace values. So I had asked one question. There is an important interview question based on replace value. Anyone remember like what is that important question on replace value?
Yes. So you told that how to deal with the null or empty value. So the answer
Yes,
will be with the replace value, replacing like the null value with NA or something else. So
y-
that's
yes,
how we.
absolutely. So there is one important question under like Power Query Editor. So when you attend the interview, right, they'll ask you how do you deal with null? How do you deal with null values? Okay, this is the important question. So to know that, do you know any transformation queries or do you know anything about the Power Queries under? So this question will be asked. How do you deal with null values? So at that time, I said replace values. So using the replace values, we will be dealing with the null values. Okay, now there is another answer to that, and that is called fill. So using replace values and fill, we will be dealing with the fill options. We will be dealing with the null values. Okay, fill is like not every time we will be using it. In a most rare cases, I will show you that example now where we will be using it fill. But replace values, we will be using it in the most of the cases. Okay, for example, what would be the replace value? When do we use it? So for example, let me repeat this concept again. Let's go to dim customer. Remove the columns. Okay, so we have here the customer table. Okay, let's take middle name. So if you see under middle name, we have this green and half, like most of the 3/4 of green, and the next part is gray. What does that mean? Okay, if I click on this, you can see that my data is valid only 56 percentage. Okay, and zero errors, but there are empty rows or null values or blank values, which is 44 percentage. So out of 100 percentage, my data is clean one, and my data is valid only for the 56 percentage. It is not complete valid. But if I over on it, if I over on this, the first name column, right, you can see that my data is 100% valid. There is no empty, there is no zero errors. But if I over on middle name, I have the 56 percentage of data is valid, and the other 44 percentage is not valid because of the null values. It says that it has null values or empty values. Okay, how do we deal with this such kind of examples or such kind of scenarios? So I'll select middle name. Okay, I will click on replace values. So replace values again. When I click on replace values, what you wanted to replace, I'll get a pop-up box asking what kind of, or what you want to replace under this column. So I will replace null value. Okay, I'll click on null values and I'll replace with NA. So once I give OK, NA is nothing but not applicable. Okay, so once I give NA, you can see it's loading. Let it load. See the complete column quality. My health of my data health is got completely changed. So it says that my data is valid now 100%. My data is valid 100%, and there is no null values and there is no empty values under my row. Okay, so this is how we handle the replacing functions, or this is how we handle the null values in the Power Query. Okay, if you get a questions, how do you how do you handle, or how do you manage null values, at that time your answer should be using the replace values. Okay, so next option, I also said using fill. So how do we handle using fill? Okay, let's take one example. Let me build let me create one table. Okay, so let me have a column. Okay, it's loading. Okay, I have a column called brand. I have a column called brand. Okay, my brand could be a Sony. Then I'll just keep it null. Then it could be Samsung. Okay, then next would be Apple. Next could be OnePlus. Okay, and I have Redmi in the last. Okay, so next would be my sales amount. Okay, sales amount would be 15, 20. Next I will have 30. Then Samsung. I'm just filling it with the mock data. Okay, so I have my data now. Let me just take it example. So this is what example we are performing. This is we are doing it for fill values. I'll just name it as fill values and give OK. Okay, now I have my data. how do I fill my data now? Now I have my data here and I wanted using, there are null values. Okay, these are null values. So how do I fill these null values? Okay, so if I click on fill options, so I have two options here, fill down cells. That is, if I select on fill down, so it says that fill down cells value to neighboring empty cells in the currently selected columns, or fill up is like fill up cells value to neighboring empty cells in the current selected values. So let's see fill down. So if I select fill down, what will happen? Okay, just a minute. Let me edit the data again. There is null.
So it has to be null only.
It has to be null. It's not empty, right? We
Oh,
saw the difference on that day. What is the difference we saw? Null and empty. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So now we have the fill value. So now let me go to change type. We have also change type now. Then we have to do the fill down. Oh, it's not taking. Okay, just a minute. I don't know why it's not taking. Let us try from the Excel. It should actually, it is not, it is considering as a value which I have entered. It is not taking as a null value. So maybe let us try with the Power BI. I mean from the Excel which let us import it. Okay, yeah. So we have a data now. Let's import it. Okay. Now I have my data where I have null values and I have by brand wise and I have my sales amount. Okay. So now what will happen? So if you see my column health quality, it says that I have the empty values also. Okay. I have my empty values, that is nothing but null values. I have my null values and I have my data valid is is valid is only 42%. Okay. So now what will happen if I click on transform? Okay. If I click on fill down. Okay, did you notice what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened is, suppose if I go to this now, the step, see, first it will fill down means it will first consider the value before the null. Okay, so it came to first row, it was not null. it came to the second row. It said that, okay, it has null value. So what is my option? What options I have given it? I have given as a Sony as the first one, right? The previous, if I give fill down, it will take the previous record. So now my previous record is which one? Sony. So the Sony will be replaced here. And same thing here also, Sony will be replaced. Now I have come to my fourth row. My fourth row is not null. I have the value Samsung. So it is ignored. So next it is gone to the fifth row. Fifth row, it has checked, it is null. So I have chosen fill down. So what is my previous option? It was Samsung. So it has got replaced with Samsung. Okay. Similarly for the others also. So if I go to the fill down options, you can see it is filled it in this way. Okay, so now my data quality is 100%. I do not have any null values or empty values. Okay, so this is about the fill down. Now what happens if I give fill up? Okay, what could be my how the operation might takes place if I give now fill up?
Upward means like from
Yeah.
Samsung, under Samsung. So the row number 5 used to be the Samsung. Here row number 2, 3 used to be the Samsung.
Yes, let's see how it works. Okay, now let me click on fill down and sorry, fill up. Okay, clear now? As you said, row number 2 and 3 is Samsung. Okay, so what will happen? Fill down is from top, the operation got performed. Now fill down from the low, the operation will get performed. So the first one is null. My first value is null. So it will not, I do not have any value to be replaced before. Okay, so it will keep as null. My second value is null. Okay, next I had the value in the 10th row, that was Redmi. So it has Redmi. After that, what I have the value, it was null, correct? So what happened? It got replaced with the previous value, which was on the 10th row, that is Redmi. So the previous value got filled down. From the down, the value was considered. And next, my other value was 1 plus. And before that, I didn't have any other value. So it got replaced with 1 plus again. Okay, clear? How did got the replace function is, the replaced and fill function work now?
Hi, Bano. Earlier, the data, why it start working? Reason?
Earlier data, yeah, so the reason is it was not a null. We were not, see, in Power BI, in Power Query, I don't know whether you listen to the previous sessions, the recordings also. We have
Okay.
two kind of data, Suresh. So one is null and one is blank. Okay, in Power BI,
Okay.
you will have null and blank. This null is different and blank is different. It is not same.
Okay.
So if you see here, empty is null. What we, so
Okay.
when I over on the data, so let me just take out this filled up. So when I over on this data, see, we have this null values. You can see there are 7 null values here, correct? 7 null values. When I over on it, it says that 7 empty here. It doesn't
Yeah.
say null. Empty is nothing but null. Okay, but it doesn't
Okay.
say blank. It says null. So
Okay.
empty and null is same. Okay, and but blank is different. What is blank means? There would be no data at all, or there would be white space. So in my previous, which I took, right, this is null before this. So when I was editing this null, so this one it took as a null. It didn't take it as a empty or a null value. What it took as, like, it took some value as if I entered some value. Okay, so that is why it
Okay.
didn't take. Yeah,
Okay.
it
Okay.
didn't
Okay.
take.
The data it's showing as a some value. That is the reason.
Yes,
It's not a
yes.
null value.
Correct. So the replace functions or fill functions will only work based on the null values. For first, what I had was, this is empty value. What I'm showing is empty or a blank value. So it will
Yeah.
not
Then
work
you
on
type
a
it.
empty and blank.
Then you type it as
It
a null.
null,
But
but
system
yeah, system
it,
didn't consider that as a null. It considered that as a some value. Okay,
okay.
so that
Okay.
was so that is why I bought it from the Excel, so that when bringing from Excel, it will detect it properly, right? So I bought it from Excel and I did the functions. I
So
performed the operations.
if you edit the data at BI level, it won't work.
It will work. I'm not saying it will not work. This is just a enter data where you can manually enter, but again we have to do the data type change everything. So I have to go and do this data type for each one, and then it would definitely, this will also will work.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So yeah, that is about the fill options. Next we have a pivot column. Okay, let's go to pivot column, or let's go to dim customer, and I'll take out replace value. Let me just give for
Okay,
10
Banu.
rows.
Thank you. I'm leaving. Huh? Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Suresh. Thank you. Okay, so what we have is like, now we have to do the what operation we were there, pivot column. Okay, so let me not consider all the columns. Let me just keep few of the columns for pivot column. First name, and let us have the yearly income. Okay, let me go and remove all the columns. Okay, I have customer key, first name, yearly income. Now what will happen, pivot column? Okay, so what is pivot column? Usernames in the currently selected column to create a new columns. Okay, so now what I have is all my rows. Okay, I have my rows, all my rows will be converted into columns. Okay, that is pivot column. So all my rows is converting into columns. So now I have 10 rows. Okay, if I click on pivot column, okay, so it will give me an option like based on what column you wanted. Okay, I wanted based on the yearly income. Okay, I'm clicking on yearly income. Okay, so you saw, if you see my data, I had 10 rows for the customer key. Now after pivoting, my each 10 rows got converted into a different column, and my yearly income is shown accordingly. Okay, my yearly income is shown accordingly for each of my customer key. So for example, 11000 is my customer key, and the customer key name is John. So for John it is 90,000. For the rest, I do not have anything, any data, it is null. Okay, it got converted. Before, these were my rows, right? 1110000, 11001, 11002, these were my rows. So my rows got converted into columns. Okay, so if you ask me in real time where you will be doing this, is like, as I said, this function of the pivot column or unpivot column or the transpose rows, we will be tweaking only during the customer's requirement, when we have the, especially when we are displaying something during the data visualization part. Okay, I have one example that is like kind of a scenario based real time example in the coming session when we are working on the data visualization part, right? I have that scenario. So that I will give you guys as a first, as a like a kind of exercise or like an assignment. You guys do it and come back. If you like, then we will discuss on that later. Okay, so that is where a scenario, I'll not tell you which scenario is that, you will find out, okay, for this we have to do the pivot column and unpivot column. Okay, you yourself will find out when we start on the exercise on the data visualization part. When I give you the requirement, you yourself will guess that, okay, this is where we have to do the pivot and unpivot functions. Okay, so that we will see when we are doing it. But yeah, as I said, it is not like every time you will perform this pivot and unpivot operations. No, it purely based on the business requirement or the users or client requirement, based on the visualization. Most probably we will tweak this data or will try and perform this transformation during in order to present the visualizations in a proper visualization where the user has requested. Okay, so
Banu, just one question. So this thing, can we achieve the thing with the transpose? Because it's very similar to transpose, right?
okay, now we had the same data, right? Let me take a duplicate of it and show both. Okay, so here let me remove this and remove this. Okay, I should have kept the remove other columns. Just a minute. Duplicate pivoted columns. Okay. Now I'll click on customer key and I'll click on transpose. Okay. So this is transpose. What happened here? My each entire row got converted into columns. Correct. But if I go to my dim customer, see, I just selected, I had a value to select. So when I click on pivot column, I get a value to select which column you wanted to be converted into you wanted to be pivoted. So I selected the value based on the yearly income. So if you see here, my first name is still in the rows. This not got converted, right? My first name is still in the rows, and only my customer key got pivoted into a different columns. But if you see in the transpose rows, okay, what you see is my entire each rows got converted into the different columns. So I had 10 rows, right? My 10 rows got converted into 10 columns.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is about the pivot column. Okay. Similarly, what we have is next is unpivot column. Unpivot column is nothing but again, what we do is in an unpivot columns, we have unpivot columns where we will be like the unselected columns will be turned into attributes and its space. So for example, I have customer key. Now if I click on unpivot columns, okay, did you notice what happened? Okay, just see this data before. I had the
Yeah.
customer key, okay, as my header name, and I had this values. Okay, now when I clicked on unpivot, what happened? My entire my name, my column name got into rows. The complete column name got into rows, and my value, it's got changed into my values. So you will have this option called attribute and value. Okay, you got an option called attribute and value. So attribute is nothing but my column names. My column name got converted and value is for each value. Okay, so this two options you will be using it in the scenario. As I said, I'll be giving you that scenario to in a kind of assessment. You guys will do it and let's discuss on the classes. Okay,
Okay.
so that is the unpivoted. Okay, similarly we have unpivoted columns, then unpivoted other columns. Unpivoted other columns means like the apart from the selected, it will unpivot the other ones. For example, if I click on unpivoted other columns, see, I selected on customer key. Okay, apart from customer key, I got the other columns unpivoted. So which was other two columns? I had first name and yearly income, right? So that got unpivoted. Okay, that got
Yes.
unpivoted.
Got it.
And next we have is unpivot only selected columns. So I have selected only the first and yearly income. Now if I click on unpivot only selected columns, it is similar. Okay, let me change the combination, customer key and first name. So unpivot only selected columns.
Yeah.
Okay, now we got
Okay.
unpivot selected, yearly income is not changed, but my customer key and first name is changed. Okay, so that is the option we had.
And people will always create like for each column name will be an attribute and the value
Yes,
will be the name of the
yes.
value.
For each column, if you have any text columns or the data type is like kind of text nature and the data is like kind of dimension value, then it will be named as attribute. And if you have any values column that is a number, will be changed, it will be named as value.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so that is about the unpivoted column. Okay, next what we have, next let's go for okay, next is move. What does move does? Move is, you can see left, right, to, beginning to, end. As the name says and as the option says, it is like we are moving a column. We are moving one column from one order to the different order, or from one position to the different position. Okay. So now if I click, there is two ways to do it. So first, for example, now I want customer key next to my first name. Okay. What I'll do, I'll just move it like this. Okay. I'll just move it like this. So my customer key went to my towards my first name. Okay. And you can see one query got generated in advanced editor saying that reordered columns. Okay. Similarly, but what if you have more than 100 columns or 50 columns? Okay. Now you have just 32 rows, somehow you manage, but what you have like 100 columns here in this table, how you cannot keep on moving, hold this key and keep on moving, right? So at that time, if you want it, then you can use this option called move. Okay. So this move left means nothing but it will just move towards your left, that is next to title. Move right means you can keep on you can just keep moving on right side. Okay. Move to the beginning. To the beginning means to the very start position. Okay. I'll just click on the two. It was like it was first in the beginning itself. So now I'm decided like I don't want in the middle now. I wanted to see at the beginning only. So I'll just click on to beginning, where it will go to the very first stage of the beginning. Now if I choose it on to the end, so I'll click on to end. So it will, if I click on to end, it will go to the towards the end of my table. Towards my end of the table, after all the columns, it will display the customer key. Okay, so this is about the moving the column into different position. Okay, any doubts on this?
No. Fine.
Okay, fine. So next, let's go. Our next option we have is convert to list. Okay, what is convert to list? Customer key. Okay, let me just keep customer key. Okay, what is convert to list? Okay, what convert to list is nothing but the selected column. Whatever the selected column we have, it will be converted to list. Okay, now I had a column customer key. I converted that into list. Okay, is this function is similar in when you have an Excel. Okay, so this list where we will be using after converting, where exactly this list be using. Okay, and you could also notice one. So if you see here, okay, before this towards my left side, how was my dim customer was there? It was to as my table, right? My dim customer as my table. But now you see the icon also got changed, because this says it is list. It is no more a table. It is a list now. My dim customer has become a list. It is no more a table. So where do you use this list? Okay, where do we use this list is in we will be using it in the Power Query while editing, or while in the Power Query or M query. We will be using it while in terms of there would be a requirement where we will be using the list and get the data, or using the list we will be performing some data. Okay, that I will show you. There is an other scenario we will be like in the coming session, maybe tomorrow or this in the Friday class. I'll be showing you how do we convert using the list. How do we what are the use cases we have? Okay, so but yeah, this is the scenario. You can see, you can notice that the entire icon got changed once we converted into list. Okay, so this is again, you have an option from here. If you click back, it will convert back to the table. Okay, you can see it got converted back to the icon got changed into table. And what is the delimiter you wanted? I can select if I wanted any delimiter, or if I don't want any delimiter, just show as none. How to handle extra columns? If you have any extra columns you wanted to remove it, I mean truncate means you have how to remove it, or show as errors, or how do you want to do? You can just select the option and it will turn it into column. So now if you see, I had my entire data, that is dim customer table. Then what happened, I just took this one column and I converted into list, and from list to back I converted into table. Okay, so for this scenario based, I'll show you like where exactly we will be using it, and I'll demonstrate in the coming session. Okay, so this is how we convert into list. That is about the list option, convert to list. Next we have the split column. So split column we saw, like in the previous sessions, we saw for each cases like by delimiter, by number of character, by positions, all the stuff. Okay, so similarly we have the same option here. Next is format. Format is nothing but like lowercase, uppercase, capitalize each word, trim. Okay, so let's take an example. Now lowercase. Okay, let me select this key. I have this key. It's nothing but it's very, as the name says, it'll just convert the whole column into lowercase. Okay, I have caps now. So once I clicked on lowercase, you can see all my AW which was in caps, it got converted into lowercase. Okay, now I have the format. Same thing if I wanted to convert back into uppercase. Okay, I have converted to uppercase. Okay, now next concept, what we have under format is capitalize each word. So what does capitalize each word will do? Let me take one example. I'm just looking for example where anything is there. Okay. Okay, let's take this column. We have the Spanish occupation, right? You can see we have here this obrero especializado. So this is E. Okay, capitalized each word means nothing but a camel case. You would be hearing this word called camel case. I want the format to be in camel case. So sometimes the client will ask, I want the format or the text which is showing in the visualizations, I want it to be camel case. So at that time, you can use this option. If the data is from the data source, if it is not coming properly, and if it is in this case, what you can do is like you can click this option, capitalize each word. So you can see it completely got into changed. So where it was where I had that small e, it got changed into capital E. Okay, and similarly the other one also. Okay, so that is capitalized each word, nothing but the camel case. So capitalizing every word before its space or before its delimiter. Okay, that is capitalize each word. Next we have a trim. What is trim? Trim is nothing but like removing the spaces or removing the yeah, you can see here as I over on it, it says that removing the white spaces. If we have gaps, right, removing the white spaces from each cell when we select the column, that is leading and trailing. What is leading and trailing means? That is either before or after. Okay, removing the white spaces before or after from the selected columns. So I'll click on trim now here. So when I click on trim, okay, what happened? Trim text. Okay, let us take one example. What's happening? Okay, so I'm entering space and then entering our some value. Okay, and now here I'll have apple and then space. Okay, then I'll have again space, then I'll have just keep tiger. Okay, and give okay. Okay, now you can notice, so T is starting in the second position and R is starting in the second position. Okay, so if I click on this and if I click on transform and choose option trim, okay, my space white space got removed.
Yes.
Okay, so that is about trim. Similarly, if I have my left side also, my left side also will be removed. Okay, so that is about the trim options. So then we have clean. What is clean? Clean means trim is different, clean is different. As I said, clean trim will clear the white spaces between and after, like before and after. What does clean means? So suppose if I have a non-printable characters, okay, now what is non-printable characters means, I'll show you. Sometimes, okay, it's not all the cases, it will, data will definitely not be in that way, but some kinds not printable characters. Okay. Yeah, you can see here. You can see this image. In this image, if you see here, you have this like a kind of a small bar. You will have a kind of between a question mark with a box, all this stuff here. Are you seeing here in the student name? Okay, so these are called non-printable values, and you will have this kind of and you will have this kind of values also, where you have this p. This is called pilcrow, sorry, pilcrow. So if you see this, okay, these are called non-printing characters. You can see it shows something like this. Okay, so these kind of, to clean these kind of data, you can use the clean options here. Okay, since I don't have data here, like I'm not able to show up, I cannot perform, but we will be using for clean options for that kind of data. And also, as I said, it's very rare. We will not be using it in the, you will not be changing any of the data when you are onboarded to the project, because we shouldn't change the data. So this option we will not be using it. Most probably this all will be looking at the backend, from the backend itself, it will all be done. Okay, that is about the clean. Next we have add prefix. Add prefix is, as the name says, add some value to the add some prefix to the given value. So here I will just add a value called BR, that is a brand. I'll just say I want to add this prefix before my value. Okay, so prefix means it is before the words, right? So I got my values added here, BR, to all my values. Now if I wanted to add the value, add suffix. Suffix means after the value. So I wanted to add suffix value, so that is will be hyphen BR again. Okay, and give OK. Okay, so you can see before value and after value, let us prefix is also added, suffix is also added. Okay, that is about the format. Clear about format options?
Yeah.
Okay, next one we have is merge columns. Okay, merge columns, if you see here, just a minute, I'll just keep 10 rows again. Okay, merge columns, if you see here now, it is grayed out. Okay, it is grayed out. Why it is grayed out? Any like answer? Any idea why it has got grayed out?
You didn't select those two columns that has to
Yes.
be merged. Okay.
Yes. So merge columns means what? Merge, has its name, says we are combining something. So having one single column, we cannot combine anything, correct? So that is why the option is grayed out. So if I select now one more column along with that, see the option got enabled. Okay. And don't get confused between merge options, what we have in the like home menu, we have merge queries, right? So merge queries is different, merge columns is different. Okay, merge queries is what you were combining or joining two or more tables. The entire query, the tables, what you were there seeing, that we were merging in the merge queries options. But transform merge columns means, as name says, we will just merge the columns in a single table. We will not merge the queries or merge the tables. In a
Yeah.
table itself, we will merge the columns. Okay, so for example, this is the best example I could show. So we have the first name, middle name, and last name. Okay, so now I want to know the see, I cannot go search for John, what is his middle name, what is his last name. I want one single column where it says his full name. Okay, so I wanted to create one column. At this time, what I'll do, I'll merge this columns. So I'll click on first name, middle name, and last name, and click on merge column. Okay, once I click on merge column, it will give me the pop-up window, and it will ask me what kind of separator you want, whether you want how the value should be when you're merging, in order to differentiate how the value should be. If I give none, there would be like GON, no space, nothing. The next letter only it will be V, and next letter only it will be Yang. It will start. If I give colon, then between when joining is happening, it will give with the colon. Okay, I want with the space now. I want with the space, so I'm choosing space, and what name you want to name it. So I'll be naming it as full name. Okay, so once I give full name and give OK, okay, can you see now? I have the complete full name with the white spaces between, with middle name, last name, and first name.
Yes.
Okay, so this is about the full name, and that this is about the merge columns. Okay, next what we have. Next we have is extract. Extract is nothing but it gives us length, first characters. Extract is means from the given data we are extracting something. Okay, we are extracting and seeing the output of something. Okay, for example, let's take first name. Okay, first name, when you select first name, and if I give extract length, okay, it will show me the length of the each column. For example, if I go back, you can see John. How many characters we have? 3. Okay, when I extracted, it will show me 3. Okay, it gives me the length of the words, or like length of the like word which we have entered. Okay, the length of the name or length of it can be applied to any of this. Suppose if you wanted to know what is the character length for each column, you can choose on the extract option and click length. Okay, that is about the length option. Next we have is first characters. Okay, if I if I wanted to know only the first characters, what first characters, if I click on first characters, I have an option here. Okay, it will ask me how many first characters you wanted to know. I wanted to know first 2 characters, so I'll just click on 2. Okay, so if you see the first 2 characters, when I entered, I just got only the first 2. The data got extracted only for the first 2 characters. The rest is not visible here. Okay, this similar option we applied somewhere in the last class. Do you remember which options we did, which transform functions or which query functions we used?
Split.
Yes, we did with using the split, but there is one difference. Did you notice now? Can you mention
Yeah,
what is the difference?
it is in the same column, I think, and for
Yes.
split it will be a different column.
Perfect. When we are doing split, what happened is like we got another column saying that first name, if it is first name, next column turned into first name dot one, first name dot two. Okay, but
Yeah.
when we are applying using the extract, the same column is getting reflected. There is no other column getting created. Okay,
Right.
so this is about the first character. Similarly, the last character, you can just choose the last how many characters you wanted, and you can extract the data. So I wanted the last 1 character or 2 character. I'll just click on last 2 characters. Okay, and I'll give OK, and my last 2 characters got reflected or extracted here. Okay, that is about the last characters. Next is range. So range is again you have a data like yeah, so range is nothing but you'll be giving the data from which to which one you want. So for example, let's take any other column. Okay, let's take email address. Okay, I want my range now. What is my just a minute. Okay, what is my range now? So if I click on range, what will happen here? I should give my starting index and I should give my next index, right? So I want to display my starting index, and then I want the data from the second row to the fourth one. Okay, so I'll just give my starting index 2 and I'll give my 4. So if I click on here, so all the after 2 what and all is there. So first one was, if you consider this, if you see this previous one, the name was John, right? JO. So I gave my starting index. So after 2 it started, and it was like 4th character I said, still until 4 character. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So still at. So when I extracted, you can see N24 at. Okay, so that is about the range. So next we have is text before delimiter and text after delimiter. So this we saw in the split columns again. So what would be the text before delimiter? Okay, we enter the delimiter before they like split the text before delimiter. I have my delimiter as at here, so I'll be extracting the data before delimiter, that is at. So that is all I got my usernames. Again, text after delimiter is similarly same, and text between the delimiter is also same options which we saw. So only one difference what we saw in, compared to split column and extract is split column was into different columns, and extract will perform on the same columns. Okay, that is about the extract. And next we have parse. This parse is nothing but when each cell value what we are selected, right, it will be converted, each column value will be converted into XML document or JSON document. Okay, so when you select on JSON, that cell value will be converted into JSON. It will be converting, the text will be converted into XML document, or it will be converted into JSON document. So if I click on XML, okay, see I got my parse value here. So since it is showing error because the data is not properly the data is not properly what do you say, converted. Okay, it has to be as in a proper value. When suppose when we are using a kind of web URL, okay, where the source has web URL directly connecting to the web URL, at that time we will have many of the datas into different in a different structures. So at that time we will be using this parse option and XML and JSON, convert the data into XML, convert the data into JSON. But most of the cases, as I said, we will not be using in the in our real case or real business world when we are onboarded to projects. Okay, that is about the parse. Next we have a statistics. Statistics is nothing but again which the sum, minimum, maximum, all the aggregation value what you're seeing. Okay, for example, I'll click on yearly income. It got grayed out because, see why it was grayed out, it is a text column. Okay, on the text column we will be not able to perform sum, minimum, maximum. Okay, so that is why it was grayed out. So if I click on yearly income, it will be like I'll be having this values. Okay, so sum is nothing but if I want to know what is the overall sum for this, also if I just click on sum, I'll get the value. Okay, and if I click on the next option, similarly if I click on the next option, what was the next option? Multiply. So similarly my value will get multiply, and similar sorry, if I click minimum, maximum, similarly my value will be converted into minimum, similarly my value will be converted into maximum. It will show me what is my maximum value. So this most probably will not be using the Power Query. As I said, we will be using in the DAX functions. So when we go to the Power BI visualization, we will be using most of the cases in the DAX functions. Okay, so this is about the statistics. Next we have a standard. Standard is nothing but again we'll perform this add function. So if I click on this and I'll click on add, so it will add all the values, and so it will ask enter a number of value to add each value to the column. So for example, I have 10001. I wanted to add 10 extra value to this. So I'll just add 10 extra value. So what will happen? For each value 10 is added. Okay, it was 111000, right? So I added 10 value, and here again it was 110001. So again 10 got added. Okay, so this is about like adding, you're changing the data. Again, as I said, we will not change any of the data when we are importing. We will never change data. So this is all like just know for your information, but we will not be performing on the real-time scenarios. So similarly, you can change the data with multiplication. You can do the subtract, divide, modulo, percentage, all this stuff. You can choose it. Next, we have a scientific. Similarly, we have like you can perform the power of square 2. So suppose I have the data here, and if I want to power or like do it into square 2. So each my data got into the power of 2. It got converted. Okay. So similarly, the scientific operations, what you're seeing, you can perform here. The square root, suppose now I clicked on square root, it got the square root got converted now. Okay, so that is the scientific options we have. And similarly, I have trigonometry operations, that is sine, cosine, all those operations you can perform. And the rounding is nothing but round up and round down. We have the values, right? Suppose if you have 25.5, okay, that will round up to the nearest to the round up means it will round up to the next value, that is 25.5 will be converted into 26. Round down means it will be converted into the before value, that is 24. Okay, that is round up and round down. And round also you will have the values, so decimal places you can just give how many decimal places you want to round it and round up the values. Okay, that is about the rounding function. Next we have information. Information is nothing but, for example, if you have any data, yeah, so let's take this column. That is to just check whether the column is even, is odd, or sign. Okay, for example, is even means to see whether the data is even, even number, odd numbers, right? So to check whether it is even or odd. So if it is even, it will give true. If it is odd, it will give false. Okay, so I have checked on even. So 2 was our first value, so that is means it is even, so it is given true. Next number was not, next number was 3 and 3, it is not even, so that is why it is giving false here. Okay, similarly we have with the vice versa, the false functions or is odd function also will work. So now if you see, my first number was not even, so it was odd, so it is false. The next number is true. Okay, so it is getting converted into it's giving in form of true and false. Next we have is sign. What is sign? Sign means, you would notice here we have 2 3 3, then we have 0, then we have 5 0 0 3 4 4. Okay, if I click on sign, it is an indication, it will check whether my this column has data or not. Okay, whether this column has data or not. If any values are entered, then it says that it is 1. Okay, if it is 0 means, if my previous value is 0, if you notice here my fourth row, it was 0 here. Okay, that means no data, it is completely 0. Okay, so that is why it's giving me, when I extracted, when I see the sign, it's saying there is no data here. So it indicates whether my column has data or not. Okay, so that is about the information what we have. So the next is date, time, duration. This is nothing but what we had the where we had this data type conversion, right? So this is grayed out because the date is not selected. So if you select the birth date, I have my birth date selected now. So appropriate, if when you select the appropriate column, this functions will be enabled. So when I click on date, so I can convert, if I wanted to see what is my age here when compared to the today's date, as of today, it will take and convert the age. So this is my age now. Okay, so similarly, if I wanted to convert my date into, if I wanted to see just date only, if you have the date and time, and if you wanted to see just date, only just date will be seen. Okay, so if you wanted to see just year, then I want only year now, I don't want to see my old date. So my data has here 1970, you can see here my data has 1971, 1976, all the stuff. I want only my year, so you can just select year, and only the 97, 96, all those options will be there. Okay, and similar way, if I wanted to see month, what month I want, if I wanted to complete start, if I wanted to see quarter, if I wanted to see the week wise, so all this date can be, functions can be converted here, it can be transformed. Okay, so this is about the transform ribbon we have, and this two options is nothing but when you're using the Python script, or when you're using running the Python data, at that time you'll be using. Other than that, you will not be using or running the scripts. Okay, this is this is R script, and this is for the Python script. So this is all about the transform ribbon. So tomorrow we will check on the add columns and the other few other few menus, and finish it this Power Query, and let's start soon on the visualization, and then we'll start building on the reports. Okay. Yeah. Any questions today, or
So
we can? Yeah.
transform, one thing, but from transform, this number column, do we use it? This means very frequently in the real life work, this number column.
Which number column?
Just the one you have just explained, trigonometry, rounding information.
No, as I said, we will not be changing, because when we do it right, that is like we are changing the data. We should never change the data from the source, right? So we will not be changing the data. So when we get that, we will not be using it. It's just that there are sources. See, this can be applied when you're building the mock-up dashboards, when you're using the dummy data and you're building the POC data, when you have some demos to show. At that time, you will be using these functions if you want to show up something. But in real-time scenario, when you're onboarded to the projects, you will never be using these options.
Sure. Okay.
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 Okay. Any other questions?
No, fine.
Okay. Okay then. Let's catch up tomorrow and look into the other remaining concepts. So today, let's end the session. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.